All right, how's everybody doing? Cheech Carrerio from the Cheech and Manny Music Podcast, and here is my co-host, Mr. Manny. How are you, my friend?
Yes, sir. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Nice day off from the temple. Hung out with my kid, and you
Love it.
know, um, in my rush homework as always.
Love
And
it.
we have
How were the priests?
they've been okay. No complaints. No complaints. But so basically today we have a special show. We did moving pictures, and we're going to talk a little bit about Exit Stage Left, but we're going to talk a lot about Signals, the dog and fire hydrant that's behind
Yep.
Manny. But let me just throw some shout outs. Oh, and then let me tell you about some up and coming shows. So we have Manny said there's two uploading to YouTube right now.
As we
Sampling,
speak.
yep, sampling part two with Devonte, Daquan Devonte, and Mark, and that's a really good show on sampling. And then the
Mhm.
other one, our epic, it's our 2112. It is a 3 hour moving pictures. We broke it down, philosophy, song. It was so much fun to do. It was amazing. So that's going to be released soon, probably in the next day, right? Probably.
Well, actually, hopefully, fingers crossed tonight. But the
Oh,
Devonte sampling episode with Mark is definitely by the time we stop recording this episode should be up.
oh, awesome! That was a lot of fun, and thank you, Devonte and Mark. Um,
Mhm.
So we have a couple of other shows planned for the works. We're going to do the top 10 Rush albums. Me, Manny, and my brother-in-law, Rob, will be on the show, who is a fantastic, amazing bass player, plays in a great band called East Coast Rednecks, and he is a Rush fanatic. So there's not a lot of Rush fanatics like us three, and we're going to talk about our top 10 albums and discuss why we picked them, and then we're going to talk about the 80s years and the 90s years of Rush, which for some people is a little controversial, but
Yeah.
I loved it. So anyway, shout out to always to Potter's Field. Check us out everywhere on the internet, and I think I pretty much said everything about the moving pictures and the sampling. And then we're gonna do a legend show. I didn't
Mhm.
mention that. Legend.
Featuring one of our friends from the temple.
Yep.
Oh,
Leslie and
friends.
yeah, Leslie and Devonte. And that's a good.
Mhm.
That's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be about legends in music and what makes a music band or artist a legend. There are qualifications, and we'll definitely pick our top and talk about that. Figure out something different from what we're doing. So let's talk a little bit about Exit Stage Left. So we left Rush at Moving Picture 1981, their most successful album, I think, of all time.
Yep.
It you know it takes them from a prog band to more of a commercial rock band,
Yep.
radio friendly. Tom Sawyer, Limelight, it blows up on the radio, and ironically, as soon as they release it, MTV comes out.
Yep.
This new vehicle to boost, mainly to boost record sales. I think that was the point of MTV, to have videos to promote your albums. Like, so besides radio, you'd have MTV. So that's always in the mix there. So Exit Stage Left came out in 1981. It's recorded from two shows, one in Montreal, the Forum, and this is interesting, and then one at the Apollo
Hmm.
in Glasgow, Scotland. Those were the two shows that made it to the album, but in between that, there was a long tour of moving pictures, and they recorded at least 50 to 80 shows.
Hmm.
So I'm going to explain why it was difficult for them to put it together. So when they went in the studio, they would hear like mistakes. Like they'd have one track like Limelight, and there might have been a mistake on it. So Getty would be like, oh, I like this, but I fucked up in this part. So what they did is they had Terry Brown, slice the tape from a better show and kind of put it together. It was like a primitive Pro Tools. So there was a lot of fixes for Exit Stage Left. They wanted to take the best version of the song, and if the song wasn't perfect, they would just take other bits of it and just take Spirit of the Radio from February 20th. Let's take out the rhythm section and put it in, this part. Does that make sense? That Yeah.
Dude, this is so it sounds so compared to their last live album, which was I think a purely live recording, this one they're
Yeah.
actually editing
They,
and making
yeah,
something.
they produced it. Yeah,
Right.
they a lot of bands did that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And a lot of people would argue, is it truly a live album? Kiss Alive, they did it too, but it
Mm.
is. You know, what are you gonna do? You can't leave your mistakes on there.
Hmm.
So you got to fix it. Um, so that's pretty much that part of it. All right. So we have um, what else? Okay. So we have exit stage left opens up with Spirit of the Radio, Red Barchetta, YYZ, and I love that they go back into their catalog and they go to
Yeah, that
2112,
really
Passage
cool,
Bangkok. I mean, they could have just done everything off Moving Pictures and
honestly. And
Permanent
Permanent
Waves,
Waves, maybe like Spirited of the Radio.
you Passage to Bangkok, Closer to the Heart. And then I love this. They go back to Fly By Night, Beneath,
Mm.
Between, Behind, Jacob's Ladder, which I forgot was on there.
Hmm.
Then a nice little solo by Alex called Brune's Bane, which goes right
Hmm.
into the trees, which is phenomenal from the video. Then the great Xanadu, that live performance, they also put a live, this was also an album and a live concert.
Hmm.
Free Will, Tom Sawyer, in the end with La Villa Strengato, which I didn't think made the video that I had of it. I don't remember it being on the video part of it, but it was definitely on the album part of it. Okay. So with that being said, um, the album cover is genius. You say
Mm.
Sims, I think you Sims. I always say it wrong. Is a fucking genius, man. I mean, Derek Riggs is a genius too from Maiden. Those are the two great, you know, artists. But I think U Sims is more creative in a sense than Derek Riggs. He's more of
Mm.
an artist where Derek Riggs would just make Eddie look cooler and cooler and cooler, but
Right, right.
you Sims would just take like things like what's behind you. That's like pop art. That's straight out of the Andy Warhol Campbell
Hmm.
Soup. You know,
Hmm.
so this, if you didn't know what this album means, it's fucking nuts. So the album cover shows all 8 albums uh before Exit Stage Left. You
Hmm.
notice the owl that's flying,
Hmm.
that's from Fly By Night. Apollo is there, that's from Hemispheres. The woman, I think she's peeking in through the stage, that's from Permanent Waves. Now, if you go around the back, you have the Puppet King from Farewell to Kings. And I love this part. You actually see a picture of Caress of Steel, the album, and it's being held by a mover from
That's
from
really
moving
cool.
pictures. That is the coolest part.
Oh, that is so cool.
Dionysus is in there lurking around, and of course our Starman is in there. So any comments on that?
Dude, so I know you were explaining this to me before we were recording, and now I'm noticing, I'm looking at the front cover right now, and now this album cover is even more cooler because the fact that the woman from Permanent Waves is right there, and she looks really pretty. She looks like she's like in a 50s kind of, it might be the
Yeah,
same dress from the album
she's
cover.
supposed to be like I forget the show. There was a 50s show, and the mom, I don't know if it's not Doris Day, one of those old 50 shows like Leave It to Beaver kind of mother.
Right, right,
They
right.
wanted
No, that's
to,
the vibe. But is that the
yeah,
same dress from the album cover in Permanent Waves?
yeah. Because remember, the wind is pushing her dress up.
That's that's what I figured. And I
Yeah,
see the owl. I see the the rational man from hemispheres, and I love that title, Exit Stage Left. Again, continue that Shakespearean theme.
Now that comes from
Right.
that's Shakespeare, right? Exit stage left.
I believe so. It's
Yeah,
just it's a stage direction. So usually
yeah.
when act right.
I couldn't find anything on it. I found the meaning of it, but I didn't find out the origins of it. I couldn't really find. I thought it was Shakespearean, maybe.
So here, so just in my notes, the term stage left is a stage direction used in blocking um, to identify the left side of a theater from the point of view of the performer as opposed to the point of view of the audience. So again, it's kind of continuing that, limelight themes of the
Yeah.
performer, and you
All
see something that the audience cannot see.
right,
That's why I
right.
think it's brilliant. And I'll
Yeah,
post a picture. Well, when I edit this, because I think I can do
yeah.
this, I'll in the middle of our episode, I'll put a picture of both sides of the album so the audience can see how cool the
Awesome.
album cover is.
And it goes back to like all the world's a stage,
Cool.
So it's like a continuation on that kind of title. Um, so yeah, that about sums up the cover. I it might be one of my favorite covers now that I think about it because of the conceptual concept of it. I remember
Here,
looking at it and being like, "Oh yeah, pretty lady looking at Rush about to play. I love the cool
yeah,
owl. Always been intrigued by owls, and didn't really think much about it. But it's a puzzle. It's like the Da Vinci Code or something. You got to look.
yeah,
It's a code.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
Rush
yeah,
and I wonder if like people figured that out. I didn't put two and two together. Like, oh, I see an owl. Yeah, they have an album with an owl on it. I didn't even know she was the girl from Permanent Waves because she looks different. She's a regular woman in the
right.
picture.
And Permanent Waves, the cover is black and white. So,
Right.
but just looking at it now, you're right. It's like looking at like a Da Vinci painting. You see
Yeah.
layers, and it's so cool.
Uh,
It's so cool. Hugh Symes is honestly Hugh Symes and Rush, Terry Brown and Rush, like these, just a match made in heaven.
they're the five members, right? There's the
Yeah.
three of them, and then there's two that help them get to that level. And I'm curious to see you Symes his other work besides being an artist for a rock
Good
band. I'm
point.
sure he must have a portfolio online, and I would even
Yeah,
buy.
yeah.
You know,
Oh, I
I'm
would buy an art from him
oh,
if he has anything cool like that.
so creative. I got to research him more. So before we jump into and I forgot to tell you this in the pre-show notes. I don't have the order of the album the way I wrote the show, so I just got to do it song by song. I kind of goofed on my so
No
so
worries. Wait, this is for signals?
yeah, for Signal. So I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
that's
throw,
fine.
and you could say what number it is or whatever, or I think
Yeah.
yeah. So like every album, before we talk about it, we got to talk about the year 1982. What was going?
1982. Oh wait, Chief, one more thing about Exit Stage Left.
Yeah,
I love their performance of Free Will. Like I love the video.
it's incredible.
I love the original, but this performance, oh my goodness, I love the live performance too, like the video of it.
The bass solo. Oh, Jesus
Woo!
Christ!
Woo. And
No,
you see Alex with his he's like wearing some red suit.
oh
Uh
yeah,
and they
it's
look so plain
but you
looking but
probably
cool at the same time.
over my bed if you could see it. Could you see
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
From back in the day. But what was I gonna say? The craziest part about that is when they're going nuts in the solo. Getty's going
Yeah.
nuts, Neil's going
Yeah.
insane, Alex is going nuts, and it goes up to this crescendo, and then all of a sudden it goes
Yeah.
dun 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 dun.
Oh,
Dun.
and
Goosebumps.
no, and when they go up to that top of the crescendo, then it's so cool. Alex goes next to Getty, and they just start going like, oh man, it's like musical ecstasy.
The funniest part about it at the end, the closer to the heart. Uh, Alex, they're such jokers. I always got a kick out of this. I might have mentioned this on previous shows. He starts messing with his hair. He starts fluffing his hair up like they're at the ending of the song,
Oh,
and
I
it's just
love it.
comedy and the closeness that those guys
Oh,
had. It's not like the Perry Farrell video that I sent you attacking Dave Navarro.
So so terrible.
Fuck is wrong with people? I mean, you might not like somebody, like take it backstage. You know, people paid money. Just a side note, people paid money to see
I
you.
know. I know.
Fine, you know.
Keep it stage left.
Exactly, exactly. Go right. So, all right, 1982. I don't think
1982.
you weren't on the planet yet. You were maybe 10
No.
later. I was. I'll give you my age. I was in 1982. I was in sixth grade. Okay,
Wow.
and MTV was out. It had just come out.
Right.
Out maybe about a year or so. We
Right.
had it. I remember when the cable guy would come, it was a big deal. Like I remember my parents were like, "Oh, we're getting cable. We're getting cable. We got to get MTV. We got to get MTV." You know, and me and my sister Jen would run to the guy who, the salesman. Make sure we get MTV. And the guy's like, "It comes with the package." Every kid in the world asked that same question in 1982. So, in 1982, do you know what the biggest album of that year was?
Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Rock album. You're right
Okay.
on that. Right on
That
that.
one's is the pop, right? And
Yeah.
if I had to take rock album, if I had to take a guess, just look at my notes, see if I have it. Okay. So, Number of the Beast.
Nope.
No. What else do I
Nope.
have?
So it
Wait. Let me get one more guess.
was like this was everywhere.
Oh, my favorite Asia. No. Not-
Yeah.
I was
Asia.
gonna say I love Asia 1982. Yes.
Asia dominated. Heat of the moment dominated.
Wait, Cheech. So you lived through that. So Asia was that huge.
They were fucking huge. They were so big. They were on MTV non-stop.
No way.
Yeah, no, I forgot.
You
And Heat of the Moment was the big song, and then there was
wait, Cheech, but
Only Time Will Tell was
oh,
the
I
other.
love that. I love every song is perfect on that album. That's actually one of my I love Asia's debut. I consider one of the greatest albums
Oh,
of all time.
and it has the greatest musicians of all time in it.
Oh.
Steve Howe, Carl Palmer.
Pause. Steve Howe is in Asia. I
Yeah,
forgot about that.
our player. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Carl Palmer and John Wetton. So it's a
Oh, it's a super group.
who's the keyboard player? He was from Yes too.
Rick Wakeman?
No, no, no.
No, the other keyboard player?
I, I want is no, not Tony Banks. I
Oh,
forgot. Wait,
no, that's
um,
Genesis. So
yeah,
Cheech, it's okay, ready? John Wetton on lead vocals and oh my goodness, bass guitar, brilliant. Jeff Downs on keyboard and vocals,
that's it.
Steve
Jeffrey.
Howe guitars, and then Carl Palmer. Yeah, these are
Yeah.
all like legends.
So for those of you who don't know, Carl Palmer's from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Steve Howe's from Yes. The Jeffrey Downs is also from Yes on an album called Drama with Trevor Horn.
Right,
He sang
right.
radio tour. And then John Wetton is a legend. He played in King Crimson. He was a singer of UK, the band we talked about.
No, and I think he's one of the best rock singers. He's so underrated.
Dude, I seen him at the Terrytown Music Hall. I saw Asia. They did a reunion tour maybe 15, 17 years ago. He hit a note. I was at the bar. He hit a note. I got goosebumps. I think it was
Oh,
Only Time Will Tell. The guy, I always said, I think he was the greatest rock singer that I've
oh,
ever
I
seen in person. He was the greatest rock singer I've John Wetton. Underrated singer. He's got such a
he's
rich
so
voice.
underrated.
And this is a sad thing. There's another band that I like called Wishbone Ash, and we're going on an Asia tangent. And John Wetton, for those of you who don't know this, he was in Wishbone Ash, an album called Number the Brave. Wishbone Ash is a prog band from the 70s from England. They inspired Maiden, and he came to them with all the songs from Asia, pretty much. And they were just like, "Oh no, we write our own stuff. We just want you to sing and play bass." And that's why Wishbone Ash never got to the level. Like, it's so sad because Wishbone Ash is such a great band. So anyway, I'm not gonna. We'll get off the Asia kick, but if you don't know who Asia is, buy the first album. You said it, Number of the Beast,
Hmm.
going up against that. Here's Bruce Dickinson's debut with Maiden.
Yeah.
Not need I say I don't need to say anything else about that.
No,
Just
no.
yeah. Uh you like this one. This is an underrated album, The Who. It's hard.
Yep,
I
yep.
think
That
uh
I
what's that?
remember that one.
Emer I'm saying it wrong. Something front. Dun front.
E Eminence
Emin-
Front. I think that was like the biggest song on the album. I listened to it. It's okay.
yeah, it's a great song. Eminence Front is a great song.
That's dude, that song is so strong. I feel like you know how the Who kind of fell off after Keith Moon, but they always have a strong single, like
Was
Eminence
it
Front.
Jones, the drummer?
Yeah,
Yeah. So a lot of people were like, "Oh man, the Who is back. We're happy." But like, without Moon, how's this going to be? But it took them a while to
yeah.
they get another big album, Blackout by the Scorpions.
Oh my goodness, I love that album. That was 1982.
1982. No One Like
Oh
You.
gosh.
Don-
Oh, can I
Oh,
say every song is perfect on that album too?
oh, another classic album. And then here's another one, Van Halen, Diver
Diver
Down.
Down, yep, which had a hit, Pretty Woman, their cover of Pretty
Yeah,
Woman.
you know.
MTV, by the way, Cheech on MTV.
Oh yeah. So
They had a
MTV's playing
video of it.
Jay Giles band. I've always been a fan of them. They were kind of goofy, but they were good. Freeze Frame, and
Yeah.
then Ari Wagon, Good Trouble and that was
Mhm.
the big, their big album. So this is what Rush is up against. Again, always trying to stay on top,
1982.
but they're on top of the world right now. They're coming off Exit Stage Left. I mean, Exit Stage Left, Moving Pictures, huge.
Well,
Huge.
no, I agree with you. So 1981, they released Moving Pictures. They were the one of the biggest bands. And so I guess the pressure was on for them to follow up Moving Pictures. So that's kind of like a tall task, right? So
Yep.
we're gonna discuss what do they do. They release this.
And the geniuses that they are, when they did the first four albums, Rush, Fly By Night, Caress of Steel, 2112. 2112 is like the 70s moving pictures. It's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
with
Oh,
it's like
that's a great point.
1976 they hit that. It's so different than moving pictures, but for that time it's moving pictures in 76. So they got to rethink. Let's put a live album out. Let's take our time and come up with something different. And to me, Signals is something very different. Doesn't
Hmm.
sound at
Hmm.
all like moving pictures. You know,
No, no. Can I say that moving pictures, it sounds I don't know if you would agree with this. It sounds I always argue in rock music, there are albums that like no pun intended rock. Like you know how we talked about like back to quick grunge, a little recall for that grunge episode. You know how we said um that Pearl Jam's 10 is a rock record.
oh yeah, yeah,
You know
yes,
what I mean? Moving Pictures is a rock record. Rock doesn't get better than Moving Pictures. So when you
I
say
am,
Signals is different, it's
yeah,
because the sounds, in my opinion, it's even the
300,
lyrics too, which we'll talk about, but the
yeah,
sound of the album is much different. It's
oh
more
yeah.
definitely 80s. They're embracing the
Well,
80s sounds.
the analog's going away now, and analog kid, the digital man. So the digital age has now emerged,
Yeah.
and I think Pictures was definitely it might have been mixed analog and digital. I think they got that warm sound, but I think, in my opinion, Moving Pictures is the greatest produced album. Might even
Yeah.
be the greatest produced album next to Asia. I
Yeah.
still he did greatest produced album of all time. You
No,
can't
100%. Yep.
uh but as second to that for Russia's collection, their catalog, the greatest produced album ever. It's better,
Yeah.
it has digital and analog in it. It's a you know I forget, when you're Italian you talk with your hands. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's I'm not gonna do this in order. I messed up, but I just went, I guess when I'm writing these you know um outlines, it's like automatic writing sometime. I'm just, it kind of flows.
Yeah. No, no, for sure. Wait, Cheech,
Maybe
so unfortunately Mrs. Doubtfire crept in on this
she already.
um
Oh
I
my
know it's
God.
crazy. One, so we have less than a minute, and I just want to share a fun fact and get your like 30-second opinion.
Yeah,
Last album with their longtime collaborator and associate Terry Brown.
good point.
Last one. Last
Point.
one.
I didn't even. It's not even in my notes. Thank you for bringing that up.
So it's kind of sad. It's a swan song. It's last Terry Brown album.
And here, this could be a reason why, when we get my brother-in-law on the show and we pick our top 10, why the 80s, a lot of people not turn their back on Rush, but weren't huge fans of the 80s albums.
Right,
I was
right.
like Portnoy, talk about it on the documentary, when the
Yeah.
guy in the scene. But that could be because Terry Brown was gone. Or maybe Terry Brown didn't want to embrace that kind of technology. Maybe he wanted
Mm.
to stick to the old sounds. Who knows? That's what I got to look up. Why did Rush fire Terry Brown or not want to work with him after a decade? You know? Okay, so we left off with Exit Left. And we were talking about how going in the Signals is Terry Brown's last uh, time he ever produced Rush, which is sad, I think. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I guess as an artist, you want to keep evolving, you want to keep changing. And I know I always bring this band up, Fate's Warning, an album Parallels, where Terry Brown reemerges in the metal scene. I'm sure he did other stuff with other rock bands, but the
Hmm.
one caught my eye, he was producing Fate's Warning, and I was like, wow, this is
Right.
it. And of course, we talked about that in grunge. What happened to Parallels?
Yep.
Never, Nevermind came out, but anyway, check that album out. Plug for Fate's Warning. So I'm not gonna do it in order, but here's the order of the songs. I think Subdivisions, Analog Kid, Chemistry, Digital Man, The Weapon, New World Man, Losing It, and Countdown.
So you said Subdivisions, The Analog Kid, Chemistry, Digital Man. That's side one. Side two, The
Mm-hmm.
Weapon, New World Man, Losing It, and Countdown. Yeah, I think you
Yeah,
got that. Yeah.
and it's all funny how they only did 8 songs on an album, but just like,
Really, really short. Yeah.
and that's the way things used to be, and that's like now people drop like 15 songs, well, and whatever, now I don't know what they do now, but then it became to like 10 albums, 10 songs, 12 songs on an album. Okay, so Signals, 1982, produced by Terry Brown, the last time to work with him,
Yeah.
recorded at La Studios, which we talked about. Now this is groundbreaking. Number one in Canada. First number,
Mm.
Rush goes number one in their home country of Canada. Number three in the UK,
Hmm.
and number 10 in the US. That's not bad.
Not
Should
bad. Not
have
bad.
been number one, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna I don't know how I did it. So I'm gonna start off with New World Man. And I
Mm.
apologize for not doing it in the order. So New World Man, the lyrics and the concept of the song is about social change and personal transformation and growth, a search for purpose, observation on modern society, and rapid evolution. Um, so that's what I got for that. Any comments on those? I can go back slowly. Social
So
social
wait,
change.
wait, 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 wait. This is a New World Man.
Yeah, New World Man.
So wait, before you go there, I think it's important that we talk about. So the opener of the album is actually Subdivisions.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think you should go back only because so compared with Moving Pictures,
Hmm.
you know how that one opened up with Tom Sawyer and had that like that
Yeah,
synthesizer?
yeah.
This one also has an iconic synthesizer opening.
It does. It
So
does.
so is
Yeah.
Subdivision. Then we can go there only
Well,
because it's
I gotta find my notes. I have them all.
Yeah. Yeah. And again,
Uh,
both songs start with, while you're finding your notes, both songs start with a synthesizer, sort of establishing the sound the album is going to head towards into.
yeah.
And synthesizer is keyboards. In other words, keyboards are front and center.
Okay. So sorry. So we'll go back. All right. We'll go back to
Yeah.
New World Man subdivisions. So it starts off. You brought up the synthesizers. Now that is. Did you see the thing I sent you by the way? The
Yeah.
Tom Sawyer sound. That was pretty
I
cool.
did. I did. That was really cool.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's the same keyboard in Oberheimer, and it starts off in an odd time signature called 7/8. Dun 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 dun. That's 7/8 time, and it comes in with a beautiful keyboard harmony solo.
Yeah.
Um, and Neil's drum fills are off the fucking charts on it.
Oh, I was gonna
He
say amazing
oh
drum fills.
god, and the
So
bass
precise.
we'll talk about the music first. The bass lines are sick and incredible, and it's unfortunately the last time Getty will use a Rickenbacker on an
Oh,
album.
so sad.
He's gonna go to the Stein on the Grace Under Pressure album, and Alex solo once again the crescendo. He just
Yeah.
builds, and we talked about Alex. He's Alex now at this point. The guy is
He has
become
his sound, dude. He has his sound, which on this
signature.
album,
Yep.
signature sound. I like that. Yeah,
You
the
don't.
solo on this album, towards the end, like wow, 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 like
Yeah.
when after the lyrics and everything, they do an
Oh,
instrumental breakdown, and it's a Alex solo. It's great.
oh, it's incredible. So, okay, subdivisions, suburban alienation and conformity.
Oh, and
Uh,
written by Pert, so this is what he was
oh yeah,
experiencing.
written by Neil. So imagine Neil in high school. He
Yeah,
probably was
yeah.
a cool guy reading an Ayn Rand book. I don't think too many chicks in the late '60s wanted to like hook up with him. Uh,
No. No,
teenage,
oh no, and before you continue, it's worth to say that when and this is based on the documentary, when Getty and Alex met this dude, they thought he was weird.
yeah, oh yeah,
So they didn't think he was cool.
yeah. Well, he was, he is kind of like that college professor. Like, he's
Yeah.
like almost
Yeah.
nerd, not just in college professor. But, he's like a nerdy kind of. If he wasn't a rock drummer, he'd be in university teaching.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
thing. So suburban alienation and conformity, teenage angst and rebellion, struggle of individual and self-expression, and Neil's reflection of his teenage struggles. You know. So what do you think about
Yeah, go the first part. That's really good.
suburban alienation and
Yeah.
conformity?
So so we just mentioned that it's written by Neil Peart, so it's an autobiographical song. So I
Yeah,
think there, in one sense, Neil does philosophy songs, but then he does really good autobiographical songs like this one.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I will say, growing up in, I mean, I'm not gonna say where I grew up in, but dude, I see that because um, so as they say in subdivisions, conform or be cast out, right? So, and we know Neil is not a conformist, like
No,
he,
no.
so he was probably cast out. So in this song, there's I would say this is an anthem for like the lonely people, the rejected people.
And the video was in heavy rotation on MTV, and the video shows a kid like who's like a young Neil in the '80s. And I have a funny story at the end about it. Going through like his life on the weekends, watching the cool kids driving around, making
Hmm.
out, drinking beer, and he's just walking the streets alone. You know,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
I
Cheech, I
wonder,
will say, so wait, how were you in high school?
I wonder if Jeffrey Dahmer was cast out.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought that was the Jeffrey Dahmer kid for a second. I was like, wait,
I'm
is
only
that
saying
Jeffrey
that
Dahmer?
I had a whole conversation about Dahmer the other day, and it's like, holy
Oh
shit, right?
gosh.
This might fit Jeffrey Dahmer, but he took it up in a different way.
I could have sworn this might be Jeffrey Dahmer's like life story over here.
Exactly.
Um,
Oh,
but Cheech, so just out of curiosity,
yeah.
how was were you cool in high school? Were you,
Um,
or were you like this kid from subdivisions or like
I,
per?
I it's I don't want to say I was cool, but I was in a band in ninth grade that was like it was called Seance, and we were like really popular. And the fact like that we were in a band and we were in ninth grade, all the older kids were kind of like, who are these little punks? And we were fucking really good. We were doing Rush tunes and Rolling Stones.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
we got the cool what's the word? The cool, mold. Oh, okay, by the older kids. The older kids thought we were cool. We were just growing our hair long and stuff. So I never felt like I was cast out only because I played bass in this band
That makes
and
sense. Makes
we were
sense.
respect maybe by myself. I mean I wasn't getting the cheerleaders. You know what I mean? I was they weren't
Well, you needed to be a football jock, or
I
own
wasn't
like a
getting,
Mustang.
you know, I mean, maybe I actually did have a cheerleader. I take it back, for a second. You know what I mean?
I was gonna
But
say, dude, any groupies, man, or
oh yeah, yeah. I have a few stories. I think I told you the Mormon story.
you
Yeah,
did, but just so we don't get canceled, though.
yeah. So we when we were seniors though, it was seance. We were way anyone who knows me and knows Portchester, seance was way advanced for musicians. I don't know how it happened. We were just really, well, I know how it happened. We had a phenomenal drummer, this kid Mike Messina, a great guitar player, this guy LJ Pazzarelli, great showman. And I talked about Scott Harper before on the show. He was one of my best friends from like fifth grade, and he was in the band. So we were just advanced. I don't know. I remember playing in my basement, and my uncle he came running down, and he's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe how good you guys sound." So I had that going. I wasn't the kid in the Subdivisions video when I was in the band. I felt like I was him outside of the band, but
Mm.
playing bass was, if you played an instrument in the 80s and you were good or okay, you were cool. You were cool, you know. So teenage angst and rebellion.
Oh, 100%. This is such a teenage angst song. So I would not be surprised if this became an anthem for all those,
You know,
outcasts.
and I only
Does somebody comment below? Does anybody know if this was Dahmer's favorite song? Like,
only because like when I watched the Dahmer documentary in high school, he was totally like the kid in the video. Like,
oh yeah, for
but
sure. I think he's wearing glass. He does look like Dahmer, which is kind of crazy. You know what he looks like? He looks like that kid at the temple that looked like Dahmer. Remember
yeah,
that
yeah,
kid?
yeah.
Like that
Remember
kid
him?
in the video.
That poor bastard. Right when the Dahmer documentary was out. God,
Oh
um,
gosh.
great documentary, by the way. Not plugging Jeffrey Dahmer. He's an animal. But if you're
Oh no,
into
monster.
if you're into true crime like me and Manny are, which we want to do a
Yeah.
show on,
But
probably on
that's
Dahmer.
coming out. We talked about true crime podcast. I think that
Yeah,
should be like it's coming. It's coming because that's a
Dahmer,
little unknown
Sundance,
fact.
there is.
And we got
Holy,
to talk about like Aleister Crowley and like
oh
like
yeah,
the alchemy, that's
oh
coming. The secrets,
all that,
Gnostic.
and on LaVey, all that stuff is coming. Uh, so teenage angst and rebellion, struggle of individual self-expression. Every teenage kid goes through that,
Ooh,
whether you're the quarterback and you're popular to
every.
the bass player in seance, every kid.
And even his poor Hispanic kid in one of the richest we all feel it. And I
Yeah, yeah.
think Cheech, when did the Breakfast Club come out? Was it around this time? Do you know?
Um, little bit later, a couple of years
Okay.
later.
I
But
feel like it's that the theme,
we're in '82 right now,
right.
so
Also
I,
later, right?
I remember seeing the Breakfast Club when I was a freshman, so 1984.
Okay.
Couple,
I feel like that movie, where that's why that's a brilliant movie and what the song's talking about. It
yeah,
doesn't matter if you're an outcast, you're an outcast, like a football player can be an outcast. If one day
yeah,
you realize, this is not me. I don't want to do this. Or like the
Yeah.
bad boy realizes I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Exactly. Or the football player is a star in high school and he goes to college and he's the kid in
Oh,
the sub.
that's the other story. Yeah.
Oh, so definitely. So that's the struggle of individual and self-expression, reflection on Neil's teenage years, and it was inspired by his own experience.
Yeah, I
And
could, it's funny. I feel the song is so it's again, we talked about it musically. It's amazing musically.
oh
It's one
yeah,
of my favorite songs for sure. Now, I will say that the song also, if you read the lyrics by themselves, it is kind of sad. And it just makes me think, I wonder when Neil was going through high school. Like he says here, subdivisions. Again, think of subdivision. So you have a division, but now he keeps saying it's more subdivisions, right? So,
and
and
it's all Canada. That's where they
right,
live. So
right.
that's the
Right,
metaphor. There's the metaphor. Yeah,
right.
and
And just to quote lyric here, he says subdivisions in the high school halls, in the shopping malls. He says conform or be cast out, right? So it's kind of a sad
it
song.
is amazing. And just a fun fact in the video, when the dad throws the book at the young Jeffrey Dahmer or the young Neil Peart in the video, I had the same free algebra book. I remember laughing. I had the same exact. I'm like, wow, even in
Man.
Canada, it was free algebra.
Oh man,
It,
was it like a terrible book, like terrible math
was,
book? Like
back then, they had. I don't know in high school if you were using computers or we had big ass books where
no, 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 we still had big ass books.
we
Yeah.
could hurt somebody with this book.
Oh yeah, those are dangerous.
Yeah, and he throws it. He throws it. The father must like maybe was abusive or whatever. Throws it at the kid.
Oh,
Your homework, that kind of thing. And he's watching subdivisions on television in the video, which is.
right.
But yeah, my notes are so screwy, so I got to go back to where I was. Is that all right? I'm sorry.
No, no, all good. No, and again, I only wanted to open up with subdivisions because I think it's really important because it sets the
Yeah,
tone for the rest of the album. And yeah, those synthesizers are straight up front and center. Like they're,
yeah, and it's
you know,
that's a good point you made that it's a lot like Tom Sawyer.
yep,
Starts with that.
iconic keyboards, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So okay.
Which
So
is the next in your notes?
New World Man.
Ah, New World Man. Oh, I love this song. It's like my favorite. Actually, this might be one of my favorite songs next to the Analog Kid on the album.
Is a great song. And I think Getty was playing around with keyboards because it has that weird
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
that kind of
Very warm, dude. Very reggae warm sound.
oh yeah, yeah. It's a reggae, sound. So basically it was in heavy road. Oh no, they didn't have a video for this one that I know of. So it was played on the radio constantly. Constantly that and Subdivisions were the two hits off this album.
Mm.
Social change and upheaval,
Yeah,
personal transformation and growth.
yeah.
I about that. The New World Man.
So it's funny because I feel like this song is sort of what was the first thing you said?
Social change and upheaval.
Yeah, so I like that because so the song is so if you look at the lyrics of the song, you're getting a description. First of all, the New World Man, what is it, right? What is it? And we got to
Yeah,
think about that when Rush were released this album in the 1980s. Man, dude, they were in the middle of the Cold War. They were coming out of the 70s, a
yeah,
lot of uncertainty in the air.
yeah. Was
Technology was taking over music.
rapidly it was changing.
Even new genres like rap was coming, right? So
Yeah. New
you know,
wave,
new wave.
reggae, all that kind of stuff was mixed in with rock music. Um,
Yeah, and Getty, I love how he starts out here. Like he's a rebel and a runner. He's a signal turning green. He's a restless young romantic, wants to run the big machine, right? So he's
yeah,
trying to describe the new world man. So
yeah,
I love what he says here when he says, learning to match the beat of the old world man, learning to catch the heat of the third world man. So you're right.
yeah,
There's so much social upheaval. So this new world man has to traverse. It's sort of like a product of this. two worlds that are kind of colliding.
It
So,
is. This song is about the end of an old world and the beginning of a new world.
yep,
This
yep,
album, whole album, is about that. And I
yeah,
like to sing that when you said there was a lyric with signals in it.
hmm hmm
The title of the album, personal transformation and growth. That's what we kind of talked about. Search for purpose.
yeah.
Look, almost like part two to Tom Sawyer.
I was gonna say it sounds like Tom Sawyer grown up a little bit. That's the way
Yeah,
I like to think of it because
uh, yeah,
at the end he says I love the final like stanza. He says he's not concerned about yesterday. He knows constant change is here today. So again, it kind of seems like an anthem for Rush because they never rejected, like they were not, such old heads where they would reject change and not embrace it. They embrace change,
yeah,
which is another reason why they would probably lose a lot of fans after this album, and we'll talk about that um
yeah.
in a
Grace,
future episode.
Grace Under Pressure, they still had the fans.
They
You
they
know,
did. They
yeah,
did. They did. And that album is a little different though.
a lot different. It's a
It's
lot
a
different.
I love it a lot. It's actually it
Yeah,
might be my personal favorite Al Rush album, but
love
we'll
it
we'll
too.
we'll get there.
Yeah. So let me see. Observation of modern society and rapid
Yep.
evolution. That's
That's what's
right.
that's what's happening.
We're changing. The world is changing in 1982 so fast. Oh God, I wish it was 1982, Manny, and I wish you were there to experience it with me. It was a
Uh
great.
can, I can only imagine, man.
And you know what's funny? It doesn't seem like it was that long ago in my brain. Like I remember it like it was yesterday. Like it's crazy. Uh, so he's a new world man with a new world plan.
Yep.
I died my old life, uh, embracing change and progress, breaking free from the conventional norms of personal evolution. So that's pretty much sums up New World
Yeah.
Man. Any want to add on it?
No, honestly, it's one of my favorite songs in the album. I just love the reggae beat, and I love when he starts singing like he's a new world man.
Oh yeah,
Dana, 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 dana.
bass,
Again, that rushiness. Dana, dana.
the bass line is insane.
Insane, insane.
You and we talked about the music, catchy synths, good
Oh,
melody. It's a reggae vibe.
wait, can
To-
we talk? Why wasn't this like a bigger hit? Like I feel like the
It
song was
was a big hit. It was on the
okay,
radio. It was.
okay.
It didn't. You don't. People don't talk about it now, but like you're not going to be like, oh, Rush, New World Man. No, you're going to say Free Will, Tom Sawyer. You know,
Right, right.
but it was definitely. I always heard it on the radio. I always loved it. I remember learning it as a hard bass
Mm,
line, but at the same time, it's not too hard. It's like you can learn. And, I remember it was one of the earlier lines I learned by Geddy Lee. I actually studied signals like crazy. I had a book of all signals songs. I bought the baseline book. They used to sell books on albums, so it'd be
right,
like rough
right,
album. They had signals, they had moving pictures. I mean,
right.
I had them all, and
That's
it was
cool.
up, and it was the first top single, peaking at 21. So this
Okay.
peak,
Oh, so it,
21,
it did peak. Yeah, I was gonna say because the song, this is my opinion, but I think it's so warm. It's so inviting,
yeah,
and and I like their message. I always consider myself a new world man, where I'm always careful not to be so. It's funny. I'm actually caught in the old world kind of, but then also
yeah,
I'm a third world man because I come from like that his first generation Hispanic parents
right,
growing up
right.
from the bottom. So I always like to call myself the New World Man. So I kind of consider this song an anthem of myself
That's
of
all.
sorts.
I
So I
love
love
that.
this song. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. That's beautiful, man. Okay, so you said this was your favorite song, The Analog Kid?
I love that song. And let me tell you, before you start, the reason why I love this song, so this would be my top 10 Rush songs. Not top five, but top 10, because
Yeah.
man, similar to Red Barchetta,
Hmm.
dude, this song is just like I put it on every morning to hype me up. Um
Yeah, it's
it's
like a Hemingway story.
another Hemingway story. I love the musicality. I don't, so maybe you can talk about the musicality. Like this song, I just for some odd reason I love so much.
Good luck learning the riff. Bow now, but it's really fast. It has hammer-ons on it. You know, it's really almost sounds like Paranoid in a weird way, but it's really really fast. Um, so where am I? Okay. Analog Kid. It's about nostalgia, childhood memories.
The Red Bar Shadow Part Two.
Right. So Neil's going back to his child. You know, Neil had a great childhood, from what I understand. You know, he was
He
close with,
did. No, he did. I think he loved his. I know. He loved his father, his parents.
yeah. And if I'm
Great
not,
childhood.
they still might be alive. Uh,
Oh
because I know in
wow.
the past his parents were alive, and I thought
Oh,
that,
oh, that's so sad.
you know, that was sad. Uh,
Oh,
a passage of time, growing up. So
I love
basically,
that. Yeah.
you know, passes of time, human connections and emotions. Now, think about our childhoods. I know you had a great childhood. I had a great childhood. You know, that's where you go back, man. Like to those
Hmm.
great fun times. Me and my sister, we just grew up like having the greatest childhoods and just having so much fun. You know, and you know those memories, they're there forever, forever. You know, so you know,
Yeah,
kind of be
no, I
glad.
agree with that because I recently found I was doing a presentation for my students and I found get this I found an old photo from I think it's like 2011 and mind you this is only 2011 2010 when I
Yeah.
just graduated high school. My
Uh,
little brother, I'm next to my little brother who's like that tiny.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh gosh, like dude, that's what you're talking about, like those.
Yeah.
I was just got
Oh,
swept away.
dude. Then it takes on a next level when you have kids.
Oh, I can only
So
imagine. So
I look at pictures of like my daughter when she was little, and then I look at my nieces, and I'm like, oh my god, you know. I mean, there's a picture right here, like I have with my kid. You know, I don't know if you could see it. It's
go a
us.
little bit. Wait. Go back. Go back a little bit. We can kind of see it. Go back there.
It's like us on a beach, you
I
know.
see it though. Yeah, yeah.
And she was this little tiny kid, you know, and I was with her today and grown up. It's scary. Anyway, so we lost my train of thought there.
So
Um,
you left off talking about the themes about nostalgia. Um,
yes, experience of holding on. Oh, okay. Pert reflects on his own childhood experience,
yep.
why the world change and technology. He
Yeah.
brings in technology, so you know he's going from, you know, I guess, you know, like talking about, I don't know, maybe the way radio changed and
Right.
you getting bigger television sets because he was in the, you know, these guys were born like in the early 60s. I mean, in the 50s, I'm sorry. So they had like the shitty little TVs. And
Yeah.
then by the
Yeah.
time the 70s came out, they had bigger TVs, or you know, 60s, they had, you know, so that could be a reference in that. Um, and the simplicity of youth and the innocence of youth, you
Yeah.
know, it's crazy. And so embracing, I didn't understand this, maybe you can help me, embracing the analog experience.
Yeah, so that actually, no, it's funny. There's a resurfacing of that because at this point, we're living in the digital age for like many years. So a lot of people are embracing the analog style where they're going back and actually, for example, here's an example. Like if you were to listen to music, you can use something like Apple Music, Spotify, streaming service, right? But now people that want to experience or want to return to that world where you actually have to hold something, put it on. Maybe you have to clean it, put the record on it, right? That experience is
Oh,
lost.
yeah,
That's what that's referring to. And I think that's why the song is called The Analog Kid, because
right.
this kid is, yeah, like you said, the modern future is coming. And I love this line here where Getty sings, too many hands on my time, too many feelings, too many things on my mind. That's sort of like today is distractions of cell phones,
I love that
24-hour news.
where he goes, "You move me, you move
Oh,
me." I mean, the song will give you goosebumps. It's brilliant.
100%,
Uh,
100%.
so uh, the fragility of human experience and holding on to memories,
Yeah,
based
yeah,
up. Um, and let me see. Yep. Musically, we talked about it. The riff, like I said, good luck. Good luck with that one. It's so hard. It's a lot of hammer-ons. It's really fast. Not the bass line is insane too. The bass is nuts. Getty goes crazy. Very
yeah. I could
melodic,
tell. Yeah,
and he does a lot of cool stuff. Neil does his thing, and it's very emotional. It has an
yeah,
emotional essence to the music.
I
Okay.
agree. It's
The
a great
next one.
song. Just one down, final thought. Like that song,
Yeah.
I classify them as these songs that have such a great propulsive rhythm, like they get you going. It's
Oh
a,
yeah.
I call it the rushiness sound, like that, you know,
Yeah.
especially when Getty, when they start like breaking down and when they start going down, like
Yeah, it's insane. It's
amazing.
it's such a great song. The next one, and I'm not doing this in order. I think you said you liked the song a lot. Chemistry.
Yeah, I feel like this is a continuation of it's so funny. They're such nerds because they always have these science songs like natural science
Yeah.
where, pretty much chemistry, great song. Especially if you love chemistry because they're talking about sort of like the state of the world and the laws of the world and just so our listeners can see what we're talking about. Getty sings electricity, biology, seems to me it's chemistry, right? Change.
Yeah.
So it's a nerd song. Such a nerd song.
It's also a metaphor for chemistry. Like
Yeah.
we have chemistry doing the show. Uh
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
Rush has chemistry musically. So the human attraction and relationship, we just said, the emotional connection, uh, the mysterious, unpredictable nature of love.
Oh, that's
That's what
interesting. I'm looking at the lyrics. I'm just wondering, like, I could see that.
you know the
I could see
mysterious
that.
nature of love. And that is, you don't know what's going to happen when you fall in love.
Right.
Always unpredictable.
That's interesting because so that's so the rush. So it's like they're talking about love, but rush style.
Exactly.
I
They're
love
talking
it. I love it. No,
with,
rush. It's funny. They rushify things. I love it.
yeah, they're doing it in a way where they're not
No,
saying like,
no, and
babe.
look. No, that makes sense because look what he sings here. Look. It's so nerdy, but look, emotion transmitted, emotion received, music in the abstract, positively. Yeah, they're talking about love, right? Like,
Yeah,
and to elemental empathy, a change of synergy. That sounds like lovemaking or something. Like,
yeah, it's totally like, we've all been through this when you're into a chick, or if a chick
yeah, yeah.
she looks at you and you're like, wow, she looked at me in a way that I looked at her. There's your chemistry. There's your connection.
Wait, and do you think so? So it seems like they're breaking love to like an atomic level. That's what it seems like,
Yeah,
right?
science. Love is a science
They're
with that.
they're so weird in the best way. I love it.
And then here, check this. Ironically, the science of human attraction. That's the next one on my list.
See, that's interesting because at first glance I thought they're literally talking about chemistry because I studied chemistry and it's the science of change.
It's like they're
No,
blending
it's
both.
cool. It's really cool. And the fact that you said it's about love, I actually see it because yeah, if you so they're kind of looking at love. It's just my argument, but it's not really science, but kind of like what's behind the current. So they're using science to kind of peel away what is love, right? Emotion transmitted, emotion received, like music in the abstract. because when you're in love, you hear music, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's
Everything is
great.
you're in love. If you're lucky to have one love in your life, everything changes. Um, so the complexity of the relationship is my next note, and I put science of human attraction. I put Freud underneath there. Just it reminded me of a Freudian kind of. I don't know if I'm wrong on that. It kind of Freud popped in my head on that.
So I can see that. Like I can see that because Freud, what he did was he sort of broke down human behavior and kind of philosophized about it. So he tried to, yeah, he tried to make like a science of the unconscious. So I could see that, but this song, I think it's more simpler than that, you know.
Yeah,
But I can see that.
popped in. Uh, then the uncertainty and risk of pursuing a relationship. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
which
because that's the ending.
because forget about it. Like you don't know what's gonna happen, and 9 out of 10 times it fucking goes
Well,
wrong.
no, and it's
Oh,
funny because no, and it's funny how you say it's about love because um some of the stanzas Getty sings, do they make contact with one another? And then finally at the end, do we make contact with one another? So there's
yeah,
an uncertainty, there love is happening and but they're saying it's not, and actually that's actually brilliant because it's not a spark, it's not electricity. This is according to Rush. It's not biology, it's not physical, it's
yeah,
chemistry. So
yeah.
actually that's pretty brilliant. I like that.
Genius, genius. Um, and then the power of the love, and then a spark of attraction as a chemical reaction. That's one of the lyrics. Power and the power of the love connection. Um, so musically, I mean, we good on. I think we covered a lot in the
Yeah,
lyrics, man.
that's good. Yeah, really good stuff.
Music is heavy, with synths, Alex
Very heavy.
textured guitar work.
Yeah.
Uh, Bass line is just over the top in the intro. Listen,
Oh,
to that,
yeah.
Eddie's going nuts. Eddie goes nuts on this album. He goes nuts on every album, but this album, he just, maybe he was like, it's the last time I'm going to play the Rick on this one. I'm going to get that
No,
Ricky sound.
no, I was gonna say on this album, like yeah, Getty goes always, insane, but for some reason, like even from like the opening subdivisions with the synthesizers and especially the bass lines, like he's going hard.
Oh, he is. He is. Um, yeah, so basically, the song is about the mysterious nature of human attraction, but they use science and
Mm,
chemistry together. Brilliant. I mean,
yeah.
I always say,
Oh,
who comes
oh,
it?
only Rush would do this. Like I love it. And
And
actually, so you said that the album title Signals. Is that where did they mention that in the? Did they mention Signals in
they,
any of
they
the
mentioned
songs?
New World Man. Yeah.
New
It's the New
World
World.
Man. Okay, that's interesting. And
Yeah.
it's funny because the album, and we'll talk about the album cover, but yeah, they're very funny how they kind of take human elements and Rushify them.
Yeah. Yeah, totally
I love
do.
it.
How's Mrs. Doubtfire? She's probably creeped in.
Did not appear. Oh, sorry, 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay. I have the weapon next. Should
Yeah.
do you want to do another episode after this?
Let me just make sure I did not have to do something what I had to do, then I'll text you fast. But yeah, so we have 2 minutes. Did you want to talk about the weapon or it's part two of
Uh,
Fear?
I got a lot on the weapon, so I don't think I could get it in
Okay.
two.
Yeah, yeah. So because we have the weapon, we have losing it, countdown, and digital man, right? Does that sound
Well, I
right?
will say about the weapon, it is a part of a Fear trilogy.
Yeah, yeah,
Witch Hunt is the first one. The weapon is the second one, and then off
yep,
of Grace Under Pressure, the enemy within.
yep, yep,
To get that in the last 2 minutes.
yeah.
And so we have a minute left. So
Minute
far
and minute and 30 seconds.
on these songs, I mean, they're just brilliant, brilliant songs. You can see how
Oh, yeah,
rapidly it's changed from moving pictures already. You
yeah,
could kind of hear how the lyrics
yeah,
are
yeah,
changing, music textures are changing. Such
yeah.
a different sonic sound album than Moving Pictures, so but it's so cool how
Yeah,
they always put trilogies in there because they put Cygnus
yeah,
in a
that's really cool.
Apollo,
There's like a continuance or continuity, which is
yeah,
pretty cool.
which is that's amazing, so but yeah, so The Weapon would be the next song that
Hmm.
we'll talk about. And I would say anybody, if you haven't heard Signals, buy it, I
Buy it,
got it,
listen to it.
I had Signals probably when it came out, but I was just listening to the hits. Then maybe a few years later, I went back and I revisited it, and it just blew my mind away. Because I didn't know I wasn't playing bass yet. I'm like 12 years old. I was playing at 14. So once I,
Mm.
understood what bass meant, I was like, oh my god, this is just ridiculous. Getty's the greatest. Neil's the greatest. Alex is the greatest. So definitely recommend Signals. And it's so funny. Only 8 songs. Every
Okay.
Okay. So we left off at The Weapon from Signals, and I explained it is a Heart Fear trilogy from Witch Hunt, going back to Moving Pictures, The Weapon, Signals, and Enemy Within. Grace
Yeah.
Under Pressure. Great song, great album. We're gonna end up doing that album, uh,
Yep.
definitely. And I think we made it clear we're gonna probably maybe go in the history books and do every recorded Rush
Yep.
album.
So
That's what we're
excited.
gonna do. We are Rush nerds, and this is what we do, and this is
That's what
our
we do.
part-time job, in our life. And Rush has been my religion and Manny's religion now, and
Uh,
this is
oh
it,
yeah,
man.
huge Rush
Usually,
fan. Also, we're trying to spread Rush to somebody in the new generation. Like somebody has to know about Rush.
like Little Mike said to me, "I'm the Jehovah Witness of Rush."
Dude, yeah, I think we made a little joke where we'll come up, you'll have like you have some Rush vinyls, I have some Rush vinyls.
Yes,
We'll go to Mike's store. Hey Mike, do you have a second? We're talking
we're
about
from the
Rush.
Temple of Syrinx. We're here to spread the word, the gospel of Rush.
Do you believe in the Starman? Do you have time?
The Starman is our savior. God. Oh my God,
Oh,
dude.
man. We
It's
follow
nuts.
we follow we follow the teachings of Prophet Pert.
Yeah. The professor.
I love it.
Saint Alex in
Yo,
godly
get it, get
Getty.
it. Godly Getty, Saint Alex, pure, we're disciples.
We are, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, of prog rock.
Oh gosh, I
Greatest
can't.
prog rock band, greatest band in the world. Far
Yeah.
none. Far,
I I
we love
say
it.
just really quick, I have five well, whatever. I'll just say three quick. Three of my greatest bands of all time. Rush, Beatles, and Genesis.
Yeah.
So,
Mine would be, Rush, Iron Maiden, and then after that, it's so hard to pick one between
I
Zeppelin and
know,
Sabbath.
I know.
But
It's dude, it's impossible.
Rush and Maiden are the two that really that I religiously loved. And then Maiden after Fear of the Dark, I always followed Maiden no matter what. And then when Dickinson left and came back,
Right, right.
still loved them. But I lost Maiden in the millennial years. With the newer albums, I didn't like them as much. Kind of
Well,
like
a
with
lot,
Rush in the '80s.
yeah, no, I was gonna say a lot of those bands, like their millennial stuff is not good. Like,
No, and Rush stuff is. I mean, no, not that this. Maiden wrote some great stuff in the millennial years. They got real progressive. Some great albums. But I much rather hear the first, 9 Maiden albums. Where Rush, I can hear all of them. It just,
right.
but I worship Maiden. Definitely. So The Weapon. Uh, the topic is mass media manipulation and control. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, that's what's happening today.
Neil was like Nostradamus,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's funny because it's continuing again, it's part two of the Fear trilogy, which started
I
with
lost you. The Weapon, mass media manipulation and control. How do you feel about that?
Dude, so what's happening today? And I was gonna say with starting with the witch hunt
Yeah.
and moving pictures, that one was about McCarthyism and that
Yeah. Yeah.
political, hunt. Now
Right.
this time, yeah, you're right. They're talking about the media. So I can see that. And look, they conclude towards the end of the song, and the knowledge that they fear is a weapon to be used against them. So I kind of see that happening now with social
Oh,
media
oh yeah.
and media.
Here it was definitely Nostradamus. And then during this time, it's the 80s, the Reagan years.
Yep,
So
yep.
there's a lot of shit
Cold,
going
cold,
on.
cold, dude, the Cold War, bro. Like it was
The Cold
still
War.
at the
Yeah.
height.
Yeah. A lot of scary shit going on. As happy as the 80s was, a lot of people forget it's covered up. There was a lot of scary shit going on,
Yeah.
Um, propaganda and disinformation.
For sure, because so it's funny, they go from that sort of crucible Red Scare witch hunt to now kind of talk about, how fear motivates people.
Yeah.
So you mentioned propaganda. I can see that because they start saying here, if you look at some of these lines, like a steely blade in a silken sheath, we don't see what they're made of. They shout about love, but when push comes to shove, they live for the things they're afraid of. So that's like the propaganda piece and how
Exactly.
one has to be careful with like, propagandic, like that's not a word, but propagandic messages
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they're pushing fear and using fear.
Yeah, the media is to this day, right now, in this world, there's so
Dude,
goddamn, there's so much fear right now.
it,
We
it,
won't, we
it's
won't,
cra
we won't go there, but it's scary. It's very
Yeah.
scary.
Yep.
Uh, so he's talking about the power of words and ideas.
Yeah.
The
This song
same.
is very, dude, this song is very Orwellian. Like it's sort of a um
But you know what? It's in my note. I'm going right there. 1984. I have it right underneath this one.
dude, I
That's
was gonna say
crazy. You said that.
Dude, Big Brother and the place that the main character works at, which it's like this propaganda machine that just like erases history and all that. And
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't erase history. That's
no, no,
that
that
kind of
that
thing.
that's that's always a
Can't.
timeless lesson.
Yeah, and it is a lesson. That's the key. Okay, power in words. Um, Neil's concern about the media influencing censorship.
Whoa, what's happening now? That's
Yeah,
like he this song is literally like a warning and we did not listen. It's happening now.
it is. It is. Like, isn't that crazy how he wrote this in
It's
1982 before
it,
the
it's
world
insane.
changed?
I'm telling you, like usually like a philosopher like Neil Peart, they have powers to look into the future for that reason because
Yeah,
they're
yeah. They're
listening
writing
to
about the
wisdom.
future
Yep.
just by looking at what's going on in their time, and then the
Yep.
changes in the world. The technical changes, the political changes that were going on in the 80s. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan might have had just been shot at this time. You know,
Oh, that's right. That's
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
what's his name? I forgot the guy who took the bullet. Well, Reagan got shot, but the poor guy Brady. You ever see that movie, The Bodyguard? Oh no, he was a Secretary of State or whatever,
Oh.
and he got really fucked up. I think he got shot in the head, but yeah. So Reagan got shot, and Orwell, 1984. There you go, the concept. And now he took um this from a guy. This guy keeps coming up, and I got to really look into him. We should look into him. Marshall McCullough, Media Theory, the Importance of Critical Thinking.
Oh, it sounds like a good. It's
That's
a book.
Yeah, it's a book by Marshall McCullough.
Ooh.
Media Thinking and the Importance of Critical Thinking. I guess he was a philosopher. I heard of him from doing my research, but I've never
Right.
really. He's not one of the big wigs that we've talked about.
Well,
Uh,
actually, so I definitely may look for that book because I've always been a an advocate for critical thinking because I
Yeah.
notice a lot of people are like mindless sheep. They don't. That's why I
Oh,
love
dude.
philosophy because it makes you think. You have to pause and think, not just accept.
Yeah. I mean, and forget about it. Now everyone is just glued to their fucking phones and
Oh,
like
it's terrible. Well,
they're
what
not
about
reading.
what about the people at the temple? Like they don't think. Like it's so sad sometimes.
We won't even go there. There's not much reason, logic, and thought there.
Oh
You know,
gosh. Yeah,
cave.
speaking of like Mrs. Doubtfire over here, she needs to listen to the song.
She does. But they won't because they're set in their ways and
No.
the thing. Anyway, uh, so where was I? So yeah, that is a good book, and it's amazing. Here we are now learning about the importance of critical thinking. A book by Marshall McCullen, and we want to
Yeah.
buy it, and we didn't really even know who he was. That's the beauty of Rush. We're still learning. Yeah, we
Hmm.
knew Nietzsche, Rand, but we're still learning from Neil.
Yeah.
32, 34 years later.
Yep.
Now, impact on language and perception. That's important. How we use our words
Yep.
to
Yep.
describe that. A newspaper headline could just scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Just the
And
headline.
that's especially back then, especially during this era.
Yeah. And it gets heavier on Grace Under Pressure. The lyrics
Yep.
get
Yep.
dark, much darker.
That
So
you know what's funny? You know what's funny how you say that because the weapon so when we talk about Grace Under Pressure, so this album, I always argue it's their most human album
yeah,
because just because they step away from like, how like metaphysical or like, ontological things and they talk about more human stuff. And this song, The Weapon, every theme that's on here sort of they expand on Grace Under Pressure because Grace Under Pressure has this sort of red alert urgency about it. Like it's full of pain. It's full of you could feel the fear in a lot of the songs. It's really amazing, and that's why I love it. But I think The Weapon is the start of this, and
that's a
and music.
brilliant, brilliant point. That's where they're going. The lyrics are definitely going in this direction on that whole album. That's not a happy album. There's not one
No,
dark album.
no, yeah, I like that. It's dark.
Distant early warning, enemy within, after image. When we get there, we're gonna get there. Musically, once again, nothing. It's just Rush. There's nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah,
Heavy.
it's another great Rush song.
Alex, if anything, gets more atmospheric. If there's a
Yep,
change in
yep,
body's, Getty's just sick. We know that he's just going nuts.
yep,
The
yep.
drums are incredible, but Alex, again, we keep talking about his development as a guitar player. He gets more textures. He gets more atmospheric with the music. You
Yeah.
know, and it's that trilogy from the last album, the Moving Pictures, Fear Trilogy, Witch Hunt, going to the Enemy Within.
Yep.
Okay. Now the next one might be my favorite sample of all time. I changed my sample because they actually use the launch of the space shuttle Columbia. Now,
Mm.
for those of you who are not my age, if you're younger, they don't do this shit that much now, but like they still do because now they have these amazing microscopes. But they used to have rocket launches all the time. When I was a kid in high school, it was a big deal. You'd sit in front of the TV, couldn't wait for it. There was one horrible one, and I don't remember. It was in 1986 where there was a documentary on it. They had a couple school teachers that went up, and they had a couple, famous astronauts go up, and the friggin' thing exploded, and everyone
Wait,
died.
is that the I could be I'm sorry if is that the famous Challenger explosion, right?
Challenger, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. I remember I was horrified. I remember like seeing that in like documentaries, like
Oh
horrible.
yeah, I saw it live. We're watching it, and it's like, what the fuck? Poor people died. And then we were watching them train weeks before it, and the teachers were lucky to get picked to go, and these poor people died. So, that's unfortunate, but that was a big deal. Like space, going into space and space traveling was a big deal in the 80s. It started to take off. You don't see it that much, though. You're not seeing rockets being, I mean, a certain somebody's doing it. I won't say his name from the
Right.
temple, but he's doing it for his own selfish purposes anyway, you know. But so anyway, this song is about the space shuttle Columbia, space exploration. Um, basically what I just talked about, the technical achievements for space travel. So, once they went on the moon, for about a decade, they didn't do much in America. Russia did a lot of shit, but they were like silent. In the 70s, you didn't hear much more. Then in the 80s, it starts to take off. They start
Right.
to have the launches and stuff. Then it kind of dies down again. I don't know. Uh, and the song starts off with a countdown. Uh,
Yeah.
10, 9, 8, 7. The actual audio from Mission Control. The broadcast from NASA. And then there's excitement and anticipation of the launch. So Getty builds, there's a lot of build up,
Mm.
that builds up to this. So they're building up in the lyrics, like, where's this going? The spaceship's about to take off. There's excitement. And then the sample, my new favorite sample from NASA, the broadcaster saying all this kind of shit. And then Getty makes his synthesizer sound like a rocket at one point.
Mm. Hmm.
Uh, Lots of tension and lots of dynamics. It's a tribute to human achievement because at that
It's a
point,
positive verse song. Yeah, like a positive
yeah,
note on technology.
yeah, it's a positive note. I won't get too crazy. I know we're going to run out of
Yeah.
time. The best part of it is the ending when the audio of NASA, the guy's just talking and they're just playing this riff over and over, and it's
Yeah.
insane. It's beautiful. That's the only way to describe it. It's beautiful. Inspiration. Okay, so we're down to we we did we do Digital Man already or
So I think
no?
we have Digital Man and Losing It
Yeah, yeah, we
left.
did the Analog Kid. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna hold off on Losing It for now,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna go into Digital Man. And this one is an amazing song. It starts
Yeah.
off, what a great drum beat.
I was gonna say
Drum, drum fill.
the beginning of the song is sets the tone for the rest. Another great Rush song.
Oh
Um,
my God.
not my favorite, but definitely one of the best on the album.
I would say the best bass line on the album.
I agree with that.
The bass line is, I mean, every episode we're saying this, but I say it, but it's exceptional. It's
Oh
exceptional.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
above and beyond. Okay, so it starts off with a great drum beat.
I was
So
gonna
bass,
say so and no, and instead of a synth start, it starts with Neil Peart. This just
yeah,
setting the tone for the song.
and it gets reggae, get some reggae in
Yeah.
there. You
Yeah.
know, so technical impact on human relationships, blurring the line between reality. How do you feel about that?
Oh man, again, Neil Peart being Nostradamus, he's predicting what we are dealing with today because just so our listeners can hear some of the lyrics, his world is under observation. Think about it being watched by like Google and like um whatever social media platform, you even YouTube, you're being watched. We
Yeah,
monitor his station under faces and the places where he traces points of view. He picks up scraps of conversation, radio, and radiation from the dancers and romances with the answers, but no clue. I kind of describing we're digital men right now because that's
yeah,
what
we
we're
are all.
dealing with.
What we're doing now is what during his time, we'd have to get a camera, sit in a room, and film us together.
Right,
Now through
right,
digital
right,
technology, we can do. We're lucky, that's a positive thing.
right.
Blurring the line between reality. I mean, that's Facebook and Instagram and
Right.
TikTok. I think a lot of people are missing out. The younger generation and someone like Devontae will fucking hate this or disagree with me, but they're missing out on the real things in life.
Right.
Not
Right.
not so much Devontae, but he's an old soul. But like a lot of the kids will just sit at home and stay on Instagram or whatever the fuck they do, TikTok.
It's funny. It's so sad because that's what I see. And if let's say the parents don't do anything about it, dude, they'll scroll on TikTok for like hours and call it a day. And for me, that's so sad because just to quote the song, but he won't need a bed. He's a digital man, right? So
Yeah,
this song is it's like one of like the warnings that Russia always gives with it's so funny. Russian technology, they have this relationship with it where at the one hand, it's good, right?
yeah,
Because it gets you sounds, synthesizers and all that,
yeah,
and space travel, which is really cool. At the other though, at the philosophical level, you have a song like this where um, just again, another quote here. His world is honor and aesthetic, subdivided and synthetic. His reliance on the giants and the science of the day. So our reliance on certain people that you mentioned that you don't want to mention his name,
yeah.
um, it's troubling.
It is. It is. When you have that much money and you're doing, selfish things for yourself when you could be helping the world, my opinion is, I don't, and and this is when Neil's talking. He's actually talking about maybe somebody like that person, you know, blurring the line between reality, uh,
Right, right.
emerging emerging digital technology and rule and ruling out the analog. So we're saying goodbye to analog. Analog is gone now. It's all digital.
Yeah, yep.
The nature of reality and perception. And what else do I have? Exploring the digital age.
Yep.
That's what the digital man is doing. Musically, great bass line, great drums. Uh, you know, the tensions between the digital world and the human expression, which is, like you said, it's happening. Now, this is interesting. More philosophers, more, no, not philosophers, science fiction writers you might want to check out because I know you like sci-fi stuff. I've studied this guy. There's a guy named Anthony Peake. If you want to get your mind fucked, watch any video by Anthony Peake. He's this
Mhm.
crazy English dude who talks about quantum physics and astral travel and all this
Mm.
crazy shit. He mentioned this guy, Philip K. Dick. He's a science
Mm.
fiction writer. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. That's how I heard of him, from Anthony Peake. And Peart was reading him, and another guy, Arthur C. Clarke. Another so sci-fi was definitely coming up in Peart's interest at the time. And those are two great writers to check out if you haven't read about them. I think they were around in
Mm.
the 70s, around this time as well. So this I'm not gonna I have a whole thing about Hemingway, but I'm just gonna talk about losing it. Then I'm gonna
Mhm.
explain why uh like pretty much what the song represents. It's not the song isn't about Hemingway like, oh, Hemingway wrote Torrents of Spring and he's a great writer. No, it's about
Right.
a tragic story of a man's decline. Uh so losing it is about Ernest Hemingway. Yeah, I'm on 20%. Fuck. God, I think we'll make it.
I think
Uh
so. I think that we'll
yeah,
we'll put a
yeah, some
pause in and
technical.
continue.
We're pretty good with, not having technical problems today.
For
Those of you who
sure.
don't know, Hemingway, one of the greatest writers of all time, Nobel Peace Prize winner. I'm going to get into him. I don't want to talk about him now because I have a whole section about him. So basically, it's songs talking about him, uh, his creative decline, aging, and morality.
Mm.
Uh, struggles to maintain passion and purpose. How do you feel about that? As Hemingway was aging, he had a lot of struggles, and
Yeah, yeah, he did.
he, you know, he. I mean, I could talk a little bit about it. He basically he was injured from World War I.
Yep, yep.
He had numerous nervous breakdowns and had shock treatment. So basically, it was messing with his writing skills. So it's a reflection on the I can speak, artist decline and burnout. So at this point in his life, he's burnt. He's burnt out. He can't write anymore. Fear of losing his sense of purpose. So if you're not a writer, you don't have a purpose anymore.
Yeah.
Why can't you write? Because you can't think. Because you had shock treatments. You're in chronic back pain from. He was in World War I. I didn't even know this, and he
Yeah,
got
yeah. Well,
the, the
he wrote some famous tales about his time in the war.
yeah the debilitating back pain. I guess he got injured pretty bad. Uh, you know, and I love this line. Some of us are born to move the earth, others to stay. But the man I used to be is lost, and the road ahead is uncertain.
Mm.
Poetry. That's total poetry.
Yeah.
The lyrics are about Hemingway. It's a simple song for Rush. Not a lot going on, except it gets insane in the middle. And a guy named Ben Mink, who plays in a band called FM, who opened for Rush, does
Hmm.
what a violin solo, electric violin.
I was
He
gonna
just
say, yeah, it's one of those rare
rips,
collaborations they do.
yeah, he
It's a sad,
rips it.
no, the song is somber. It's sad.
It
You
is
can even
some.
tell. It's
Oh yeah,
mellow. And the lyrics. Well, it's funny because so just looking at it, I didn't know. So it's about Hemingway,
yeah. hmm Well, at his last days, and I remember I reading a biography on Hemingway or seeing a A&E biography.
yeah,
And they said when I went back and I revisited this album in my 20s or early late teens, and they said kitchen window. I was like, oh, this is about you know. And then they said for whom the bell tolls. It's about Hemingway, and the kitchen window was a dead giveaway where he shot himself in the head in his kitchen.
right,
You know,
right.
a little bit about him. Everybody should read Hemingway. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, great
He won
writer.
Nobel 1899. He was born, died in 61. Won a Nobel Peace Prize. Poor guy shot himself in his own kitchen, and it's in the lyrics. Some books, Torrance Spring, 1926. I like this, A Farewell to Arms. I wonder where Neil got that idea from. Uh,
Yeah.
that
Well, it's
I
funny because at the end of the song he says the bell tolls for thee. For because
yeah,
like for whom the bell tolls.
yeah, yeah. For Whom the Bell Tolls,
Yeah.
Old Man in the Sea, and Islands in the Stream, which is one of my favorites. I don't know if you ever read that one.
The Old
Uh,
Man in the Sea?
no, Islands in the Stream,
Oh, okay.
a really good one. I might have made a movie out of that one. So going back to Hemingway, how are we with Doubtfire? She
We're still
creeping up?
good. We're still
Okay.
good.
He had bad health from World War I. He failed marriages, physical and emotional pain. The guy was a mess, basically. Depression, anxiety, mood swings. He had dementia. That's why he really shot himself.
Hmm.
For shock treatment, because back then they didn't know the side effects of that. And he lived a wonderful life, and at the end of it, this is so sad, so sad. So, but Neil really captures that last few moments of Hemingway's life on that.
Well,
So,
actually, so that would make sense because the lyrics are yeah, pretty dark. They're actually pretty sad. And just to quote some of them, I mean, you have a lyric like 30 years ago, and actually this makes sense. 30 years ago, how the words would flow with passion and precision, but now his mind is dark and dulled by sickness and indecision. And Hemingway was an alcoholic, a really bad one.
Oh yeah, big time. So he was all, he definitely suffered. He was like a Nietzsche, a Poe, a tormented genius. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
didn't have much luck with marriages and everything,
Yep.
fell apart for him.
Yeah.
And he suffered in pain from reading up on him, from physical and emotional pain. So it's a great. Once again, it reads like a Hemingway movie, or book. I
Uh,
mean,
yeah. No, and they managed in the lyrics again. It's obviously inspired by Hemingway's writing style.
yeah,
They simple lines, but they get across a lot in one
it's a
line.
mental picture. He paints a mental picture. Uh,
Mhm.
when Pert writes books, it reminds me of Steinbeck and Hemingway, and I can resonate
I see
with
that.
that.
Yeah.
I totally resonate it. I recommend Ghostwriter. So the album cover, it's the most simplistic album cover of Rush's catalog. Andy
Yeah.
Warhol influence, you Sims. Do you know the meaning of it? No, I don't know. I'm wondering about if I got the right information, but I think I did. I really researched this, but I kept getting the same thing. A Dalmatian sniffing a fire hydrant. The idea of leaving one's mark to occupy your territory in the subdivisions.
And it's funny, it's against a backdrop of a green lawn, a very green lawn.
And it's supposed to be the subdivision where people lived. Like,
Oh, oh, so and obviously he's gonna leave his mark by urinating.
exactly on
So
the
is
on the
that so that is
so there's a
and again,
metaphor. There's got to be
yeah,
a metaphor in there, you know.
that no, it's funny. I'm looking at a quote here by Hugh Sims or Syme. He says, a little subtle, but perhaps overindulgent. Um, and I could see that. I could see that. It's an interesting album cover compared to
Aggressive
moving
still.
pictures. Yeah, like anything before this, it's so interesting. And then they get a little out there with Grace Under Pressure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this one's
Oh,
pretty
that,
simplistic,
and it's like Andy Warhol.
but
I think
deep,
it.
but deep, but deep at the same time.
But you're leaving your mark. Russia's leaving their mark now. Could it be a symbol like we're leaving our mark? Goodbye, analog.
R-
Hello, 80s. Goodbye.
Right.
You know, and a dog pissing on a fire hydrant's about to leave his mark, but Rush left their mark. And it's a comic. It's a joke. It's like a comedy.
Mhm. Right, right. And it's funny because the album is titled Signals, right? So yeah, you're right. It's actually pretty interesting. Simple but deep at the same time.
That's the genius of the artwork. And it's not as complex as Exit Stage Left, which is like there's a puzzle there, or it's not artistic like Caress of Steel or Farewell to Kings. It's
Yeah,
almost not. It's not like Hemispheres where you got Dionysus and Apollo and the Starman. It's just a dog and a fire hydrant, and you know what's going to happen. Everyone sees a dog. It's cliche. A dog's about to go to the fire hydrant, do his thing, and he's leaving his mark. And
no,
and it
no, and I found a quote here. This is from Ultimate Classic Rock. Um, so leaving your mark, determining whether or not you were the first to occupy a particular territory, that's interesting. And then a signal to other interloping canines in the subdivision. So I think, you know what, there's something deep here, but now it's kind of like making me think, is this Russia's statement of themselves? Like what? It's
they're
interesting. Actually, what's funny? This actually may be a great album cover.
this is because there's a metaphor to it. If you don't analyze it and mean it's leaving your mark, and you just say, "Oh, a dog is pissing on a fire hydrant," But anyone who knows animals and science is going to say, no, they're leaving their mark for a particular
Right. No,
reason.
no,
Pick,
no.
pick up
And if you
or
notice, I'm just gonna
dogs.
move here.
Yeah,
The dog is sniffing, so he's trying to figure out has someone occupied this spot.
exactly.
So I'm just thinking, wait a minute, what statement are they making? What? Like my mind
So
is
maybe
blown
if
right
the
now.
other dog pissed on it, he's not going to piss on it. We'll never know, because it's obviously,
No, no, and it's funny. It's like you're right. It's a metaphor for the sort of like the subdivision song in that think about it. There's green lawns everywhere. Every green lawn looks the same. Every fire hydrant looks the same. The only
oh,
way that you'd be able to kind of figure out is someone occupying this particular spot is through the urine signal. So
yeah,
again, I don't know if this is Rush being cheeky. I don't know. I think it's actually pretty brilliant.
it is brilliant, and on the just looking at it, the average Joe might just be like, oh, that's odd. But when you break it down, there's so much more meaning to it. You know, it's amazing. You Sims is friggin' genius, unbelievable.
No,
And I
he is.
and I think Rush is just throwing little nuggets at you, like the analog kid becomes the digital man. The dog pissing on the thing is they left their mark. It's time to move forward. It's a new generation coming. There's a whole
No,
sign here.
and it's funny because it seems as though that again, you're right. If the dog smells the urine, right, that's the animalistic signal. Of course, he's gonna piss on this fire hydrant and
Yeah,
make a claim in the subdivision of canines that this is my. But the thing is, again, we don't know, and it's kind of funny. If it has been preoccupied, it's time to move on. So again, I don't know. It's very strange. I like it.
maybe the dog's not going to piss on it, and it's analog, and
E-
it's time to go
ex exactly.
because
And you know what's
not
fun?
he doesn't have his leg up. You
No, no,
know,
that's the thing. That's the thing. Otherwise, if if someone if it was not occupied, we know what the dog is going to do, right? And you know what's funny? I love the blend of colors. It's funny. It kind of reminds me of like Andy Warhol pop art, where they take some things that you would see every day, like a green
yeah,
lawn, a red fire hydrant, and
and
I
the dog,
love the image of that Dalmatian, right? Because all
yeah,
Dalmatians look the same. You
and
know
they're
what I mean?
nasty.
So,
I got chased. The only dog I ever got chased by. They're a nasty dog, fucking
oh,
Dalmatian, and they're the firehouse dogs too, having a fire hydrant. That's interesting. They've always
right,
symbolized being the like a Dalmatian is every back in the day when I was a kid, there was always a Dalmatian in a firehouse.
right,
I don't, so there could be a connection with that too.
right.
Man, right, you Simpson, like an email. I say I have a lot of want to come on our show. We have a
Dude,
lot.
if
Of,
dude, that'd be so amazing. Like, come up with questions about certain album covers, like this one. I mean, you know, it's funny now. This album cover is actually pretty deep. Like, I never really gave much thought about it.
it's probably as deep as any other one of them. It's probably as deep as moving pictures. Now that we analyzed it, and it looks green grass and a red fire hydrant and a Dalmatian. That's all.
And it's funny because so the album screams like suburbia at the same time as well. But
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. In suburbia, yeah, the all the firefighters have a Dalmatian. It's sort of like cookie cutter
yeah, yeah. All
kind of
the
thing. So
maybe in Canada they're red. Over here they're yellow. I have seen
Mhm.
one. I have seen
Right.
red, fresh cut grass. So it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating. I'm curious to see what you Sims is up to, these days.
Same
Because,
here.
like,
Same here.
I'm gonna definitely do some research on him. Maybe try to even contact him because he's a hero of mine. Him and Derek Riggs are my heroes.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So this sums up Signals. I think one of the greatest. one of the greatest albums by Rush. They just keep evolving. It's like it's so
Yeah,
different
yeah.
picture, so different than Permanent Waves.
No, it's funny because they with this album, they already were starting to do it. This
Yeah,
album, again, my opinion, but they have left behind progressive rock and became are just progressing.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And they're oh,
they're embracing the sounds of the 80s and some of the bands which I would not be surprised if they were influenced by, and some for sure, The Police, Peter Gabriel, Talking Heads, Bob
mhm.
Marley. Like these were
Oh,
the sounds, kind of like the new sounds that were coming up.
yeah, yeah, oh, definitely, definitely the Police. And this is gonna lead to our next album, Grace Under Pressure, and that's gonna be a completely different production. And
Yeah.
that's because Terry's gone, and it has a whole. It's just a dark, dark album, and just even by the cover itself, that we'll talk about that. But this
Which
is
do you
and
know? I was gonna say, do you know if that one's? I got to check it out. Is it designed by Hugh Symes? That one?
see, that's a good question. I don't know if you Symes ever like Derek Riggs is continuing with Maiden forever. He never stopped. I
Right.
wonder if I wonder if they let you Symes go after this album. I gotta research that. I never gave it much thought.
So we'll leave it for the next episode. And all I'll say is that yeah, this album is continuing that. It's a great rock album. Rush
Yeah.
is lean, synthesizers are front and center,
Yep.
and they pretty much now kind of evolve from moving pictures. They didn't do a moving pictures part two. They
No.
evolved. And and it's funny because I think Grace Under Pressure ends even though this is the last time with Terry Brown, for some
Yeah.
odd reason, after Grace Under Pressure with Power Windows, they changed their sound
Yeah.
even
I
more.
would say this isn't the last album. I would say Grace Under Pressure is the last album. You're
Yeah,
right. Because Power Windows is mid your 80s. You're in the
yep,
heart of the 80s.
yep,
Keyboards,
yep,
stuff, and a lot of echo on the snare drum, electronic drums. Big
yep,
Money is a great example of that.
yeah,
Big Money
yeah,
is a phenomenal song, but it has that jump. I think we mentioned this, the jump keyboard kind of sound.
yeah, yeah.
So it's a great album. Mystic Rhythms, some great songs on there. But let's say Grace Under Pressure is kind of the halfway point. Is it like it's 1984, so we're in the 80s, but yet it still has elements of Signals and Moving
Well,
Pictures.
no, that's the thing because okay, so I love Grace Under Pressure because the songs on that album are more darker. So
Yeah.
and it has perhaps some of Geddy Lee's best vocals because at
Oh, his
this point
vocals got way, more
at this
rich.
point, I don't want to hear complaints from people because at this point, Geddy Lee mastered his singing style. So starting on this album, he sings in this kind of like nice warm tone, and
Yeah,
then on Grace Under Pressure, he kind of sings in a more urgent tone. And
yeah.
for example, the singing on Red Sector A,
Oh,
dude,
it's amazing.
it's emotional. It's like he sings, and I'm assuming Pert wrote those lyrics. He sings them like if they were like a movie or something.
Oh,
The part when he says, I gotta help my mother stand up, I don't know
yeah,
if we're gonna survive. Like,
yeah, yeah.
so that's why I love that album for like that. It sort of returns to like sort of like a cinematic like vibe lyrically.
Oh, it's amazing.
And Getty just his vocals are just warm and amazing. He sings
Yeah,
in like a mid-range.
Getty's screaming. Getty's screaming days are over.